Good evening, good night, and welcome to Mindful Live 372. I am your co-host, Nathan Springer. I'm joined by the host this evening, one Leora Lewis Springer. Say good night, Leora. Wave to the people, tell them good night. Hello. All right, yes, it is presently the 2nd. April already start, people. April already begun. It's the 2nd of April. In the year 2024, the year is well moving along. SEA students already right. Now CXC students on the hold on waiting for the drama. They're on the hold on waiting for the drama to really hit. We'll see how it all goes. We'll see how it all goes. And we had a long weekend. We're just coming off of a long weekend here in Trinidad and Tobago. Just coming off of the long weekend here. Easter weekend. So once you're inside of the live, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok. If you're wondering how you hit the like button there, you double tap that screen. And you do it over and over and over and over again. It never gets tired. I never get tired of seeing those likes go up. So we can get those likes pumping. If you are looking at this on YouTube live, we are streaming live on YouTube and live on TikTok this evening. If you are looking at this live on YouTube, make sure you also hit that like button. If you aren't looking at it live, you could look at it on repeat. Be sure to subscribe to Nathan Springer over there on YouTube whenever you head over there, and you can catch all of these lives on repeat if ever you missed one. And if you missed this and you are now watching it on repeat, do hit that like button still. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about the lives. Tell me your opinion on such. And you know, we're trying to make sure we treat the YouTube live viewers better. We're trying to make sure we read your comments over there on YouTube too. So drop a comment, tell me what you think. All right, so long weekend. We had the long weekend, people, and the highlight of the long weekend seemed to have been Roadblocks. That was the highlight of the weekend. Roadblocks and more roadblocks. And you know, on both sides, on both the police and the licensing side. On the police side, you wonder, are roadblocks the most effective in stopping the kind of crime we have here in Trinidad and Tobago? I miss Mini Mindful. Yes, Reeve, she was here doing the most. Are roadblocks, like, if we're being honest, we're taking a good look at the crime situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, how crime happens here, the nature of the crime that we are faced with in this country. And when we look at that, do we come to the, or can we come to the conclusion that really and truly the best method for stopping that is a roadblock, or are roadblocks? Really? And then to me, we have to ask ourselves some tough questions here, because the cost of a roadblock is not zero. The cost of a roadblock is not zero. So it's not like we're just doing this and even if we catch one criminal, that's enough. No, that might not be enough. We have to actually look at the price of this. Look at the pricing trade-offs we are facing here. Let's jump into this first story and see what the head of the licensing division had to say about the trauma he has caused the citizens of this country. Licensing boss unmoved by public complaints vows. He vows. Like, he vows inspection clampdown. Now, personally, in my opinion, the only vow that makes sense to me coming from the boss of the licensing division is to vow to erase the corruption within your division. I am Darian J says roadblocks is a form of backward policing that does nothing more than setting back the working public. That's kind of my belief too. And it seems asinine that in a country like ours, it seems like the only technique they have. The only technique you have to stop crime is to stop everybody from doing anything useful with their day. And people talk about, well, the police have a work to do and the licensing officers have a work to do, and this is how you stop crime, and this is how... One, I notice plenty of the people that say that are regularly traveling people. They don't worry about car and car troubles because they have no car. They're traveling. They're putting out their hand and stopping a car. And when your taxi gets a ticket, they jump out your taxi and jump in the next taxi. So if you own no car, shut up about the inspection business. You don't have a dog in this fight. Because if you own a car, you understand that nobody owns a car and wants their car derelict carrying them around the place. Everyone who owns a car wants the car to be functioning in top condition. If the car is not functioning in top condition, very likely it's because they are unable to keep it at that level. And if you're saying, okay, unless you are wealthy, then you shouldn't be able to use the nation's road, well, make that point. But don't pretend that it's about safety out here, because it really is not. Listen to the licensing boss, and this is the attitude regularly of most people high up in state agencies. At the end of the day, regularly when people act like they're hopeful of getting solutions from these kind of characters, I am not. I am not. If you elevate to the highest level of commissioner of police, you went through the entire police service. This is why sometimes I say I don't like how we choose commissioners. I rather the Gary Griffith kind of choice. I rather the Gibbs and Iwatsky kind of choice. If you choose someone that grew up in the bowels of this thing, someone started at the mouth, went through the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, large intestine, and now they're at the rectum, and they're ready now to lead. Of course, they're trained in this kind of public service where they hate their customers kind of behavior. Of course, it's no surprise when you're looking for public service solutions from people who have been drinking off of the public purse their entire life. They don't understand what it is to make something real out there. Many of these people. Listen to his views on some of these things. Transport Commissioner Clive Clark says the licensing division intends to clamp down on the enforcement of vehicle inspections soon. He made the comment as the division issued more than 200 fixed penalty notices over the Easter weekend. Speaking with Newsday on April 1st, Clark said he is unhappy with what he is seeing from drivers because he's seeing errant drivers on the roadways. You know, he's unhappy. While he sits in his Prado supplied by taxpayers' money, he is unhappy that, you know, you couldn't spend the extra 10,000 to get your car tip-top. But he sits in the Prado with the licensing division on the side. But he's upset about your car conditions on the nation's road. You know, he's upset about that. I saw one comment he made in this. They went through this and went through many of the small business owners in Maracas who were complaining. They were complaining about what was going on in Maracas over the weekend and what the police did. And they called it a petty hustle. Many people see it for what it is. Most Trinidadians see it for what it is. And the licensing division, the police, the joker PNM politicians, they like to regularly come and pretend that this is about service to the country. We want to make sure that the nation's roads are safe, that the drivers are safe, etc., etc., etc. Someone in this story made the point. One of the Maracas salesmen, vendors made the point. If this was really about doing things for the betterment of people, and you are crowding Maracas on a weekend, wouldn't you be directing people where to park best and ordering the system? Wouldn't you be there, as it were, as ushers for Maracas to make sure this whole thing runs smoothly? If you go there and all you do at the end of the day is cause traffic and take out tens of thousands of dollars from the regular public, how did you benefit the public? How was that beneficial? You didn't make the parking situation better while you were there. You didn't make it more conducive for the vendors. You didn't make it more conducive for the people who were bathing and enjoying themselves. You did nothing of service for the country. He said, one man who runs a beach share rental business, he said, if traffic wardens and police are coming here, it should be to assist with the parking and to guide people instead of harassing them and giving them tickets. They are supposed to help the problem, not make money from people who just want to come to spend time with their family and park where they could see their car and feel comfortable. You see, this is a man with some thinking. Maybe we should fire all of the seniors in the licensing division and put someone like this at the head. These people that go to the beach, they are not there with the intention of causing trouble. You see a family vehicle come to Maracas, and maybe the inspection isn't on 100. Their intention is not to go there and make things difficult. All right, you see them park 2 feet away from where is the ideal parking place. So you go and give the family a ticket and tell them pay the government $1,200? Or you tell the man, oh, big man, Nadi, you have to park over so. Like, this seems to me to be the most sensible thing. But unfortunately, sense is far away from our law enforcement. I'm looking for one specific. Clark, we're going back to the RL says they just treat someone with a crack on their windshield like a murderer. Yes, they do, because they're afraid of the real murderers. And going back to the chief of the licensing division, him speaking here, Clark referenced the recent incident in which a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force was suspected of being involved in an accident which resulted in a truck driver's death. That bothered me, he said, because if we had license officers on the road or enforcement officers on the road, we may have stopped an accident. I would like to ask this joker, how exactly would licensing have stopped that accident? This was a new Ioniq. I believe it was PD something. That didn't even need an inspection sticker. How was licensing going to stop this person from this accident? The Kiss truck is a company vehicle. I'm sure that was inspected. The Ioniq is a new hybrid that didn't need inspection. So how were they going to stop that accident? By causing traffic? Was that the solution? I get it. I get it, Mr. Head of Licensing. If y'all gridlock all the nation's roads and no one could move faster than 5 kilometers per hour, then we never have accidents to worry about. Brilliant idea, sir. You are a genius. Thank you for that. Real brilliance, real brilliance. I didn't think of it. But that's what you call thinking outside the box. That's why they get the big money and drive around in company Prados. You see, because they could think like that. When licensing gridlocks all the nation's roads, they're protecting us. You can't move faster than 5 kilometers per hour, then you can't cause an accident. Advanced safety. And you know, regularly you hear people talk like small price to pay for keeping the nation's roads safe. And I keep saying, this is something that is a price we're paying. They do get paid. Yes. But this is a price being paid. And it is a calculable price. Remember recently when the nation was in uproar, when the amount of days wasted in traffic was calculated? And what was, I can't remember, was it a week or a month? Something considerable per year of Trinidadians' time. And if we could get the cash cost of a roadblock, like, to me, I think this is something that the police and the licensing division should be doing. And again, I would like Are you doing a cost-benefit analysis of the roadblocks? So, okay, in an average roadblock, yes, the driver is free, Dalip Jairam, I was getting to that. In an average roadblock, you stop, let's say you stop 0.5 violent criminals in an average roadblock and issue X amount of tickets that do nothing to the benefit of the citizens. They just make money for the politicians. But in terms of crime, you catch or stop 0.5 criminals. What's the cost of that roadblock? Because there's a cost. I would have reached Maracas Bay, enjoyed 5 hours of leisure time with my family, and reached back home, spending an hour and a half on the road, the entire thing lasting me 6.5 hours. And I would have gotten my leisure. Now, that 6.5 hours that I had carded, I am only going to get 1 hour on the beach, and the other set of hours are going to be stress on the nation's roads, paying for it in added wear and tear on my vehicle, in added fuel costs, and in lack of recreation. All right, that's on the recreational side. And then on the job side, deliveries can't reach where they want to reach on time. People can't reach for work on time. People have to leave earlier. There's a money cost to all of these things. If a roadblock costs the country $1 billion and you catch 0.5 criminals, is 0.5 criminals at the cost of $1 billion worth it to the country? And to me, this is something that these geniuses in the licensing division and the police road traffic division, this is something they need to be able to say. This is something they need to actually be able to put forward to us. Say that, okay, the benefit to these roadblocks exceeds the cost to the nation. That's why we do so many. But it does not seem so. I'm reminded of the Brad Boyce trial, Dalip Jairam says. Man, that's the general way of this country. And I hope people understand that a fine is a crime to the poor. A fine is only a crime to the poor. Someone who makes $10,000 in a week, 10,000 sometimes in a day, to those people, those fines are inconsequential. Those fines are irrelevant. One, they drive vehicles that are nearly never going to be running afoul of the road traffic laws. And two, the fines are nothing for them to pay. Understand that what we push from our licensing division is a class-based punishment on the poorer people in this country. Understand that. I hope you do understand that. And when you jump up with your traveling self and ball, well, the people have work to do. I saw someone say this genius statement: if your car in order, you have nothing to worry about. What are you complaining for? Listen, I've passed roadblocks without a ticket at all. And it wasted hours of my time, even with my vehicle in order. So what do you mean I have nothing to worry about? My time is still being wasted. And that's in the off chance that they don't find something that they want to find off with your vehicle. I have known personally situations where people brought in a vehicle, got it licensed and inspected, and then went on the road and within a week got a ticket for something that was passed when they brought in the vehicle. So don't act like you don't understand how this country functions. And the genius guy there, head of the licensing division, talking about, you know, his heart was heavied by the death of the KISS driver on the road. Like if the licensing had any way to stop that. And then he would come to put this out there while we see the reality that the suspect in deadly Couva crash freed without charge. Now, Don't get me wrong. I understand the legal system. I understand innocent until proven guilty, and there are investigations to go through and all of that. I understand that. But it just seems so poignant to me. It makes the point so clear and loud that good night, Linden Supers, that if you go onto the nation's roads with a tire a millimeter too smooth, you will be punished based on what they see right there. And you would have to go to court and argue your innocence. You are guilty until you go to court and could prove your innocence. That's how the road traffic laws work when they're ticketing you. Blessings, vitamin B. But you could murder someone on the nation's... Well, let's not use the word murder. You could kill someone on the nation's streets and walk away. You don't even have to pay a cent. Like, you're understanding the misplaced nature of the focus here? Someone could kill someone, caught on camera on the nation's streets, face no consequences, at least as of now. While if you get caught with a moderately smooth tire, or if you have off-road tires, you know that's a charge. Your tires are off-road and they aren't supposed to be on the highway. How dare you come pay a ticket? You ain't kill nobody, innit? Lifted vans saving the country through floods. And then you can't get inspected and have to take a ticket for that. You literally saving lives with your vehicle and they want to fleece your money from you while a killer on the roadways. Free up now, dog. Free up now. I wonder if his license was even seized momentarily, or if he could have literally driven out of police custody. Imagine that. Autotech says, best I join the protective services. You could get that feeling, Autotech. You could get that feeling. I don't have the desire to do that for all the other things it encompasses. And I cannot see myself being a willing arm of the state doing all the state's bidding. Like, I cannot see, I can't join the police service. If a senior officer told me to go on the road, look for someone in a B14 with the lights yellowing a little bit, and they have their family there, and I'm seeing their family there, I know how it is to try and keep a car going, and I'm going to tell that person, well, you owe the government $1,200. Nah, I wasn't going to be able to do that. They would have had to do something about me for insubordination. You can't, I'm sorry, the state can't pay me to do that. Dr. Rowley can't pay me to be a tax collector for him. That's not just who I am. There are lots of people in the nation, like a prime example is that licensing division head. Lots of people like that. There are lots of people who, if the government pays them, they will execute anything the government tells them to do. Anything, up to killing, up to murder. There are many people employed right now in our protective services. If they get an order to kill someone, they don't even need to know if this someone is guilty. They will kill them for money. Understand, that's the nature of many of the people that are protecting us. That's the reality. If they are willing to rob the country for money, if you are willing to stand up and watch a family and tell them $1,200 to the government, there are very few things you wouldn't do. You are objectively a wicked person. In my book, I cannot see how you are not a wicked person to do something like that. That's wickedness. There's no other definition of that to me. Looking at someone needy and telling them you are enforcing removing their resources and placing it under the control of the wealthiest people in the country, that's wickedness. Okay, it's your job. I understand it's your job. I understand nothing is illegal about your job. I understand you are paid for doing that. But it's wickedness. Understand that too. No going back on that. And when you see that your job could fleece a poor family of thousands of dollars while it does nothing to a killer on the roads, you know that you aren't really about protecting the roads. That's not what you're about. You're not about protecting the roads. All of these murders and drive-bys that happen all about the nation's road. Any killing ever was caught on the escape in a roadblock. Autotech says, I ain't taking a person's life for a piece of paper with a figure. That's you, Autotech. But would you take a person's money? Because to some people, their money is, as it were, their life. Bear in mind, understand what money is. Understand in this context what money is. Money is labor. Money is a representation of labor you put out there. So $1,200 to a lower class person might be representation of 2 weeks of their profitable work. Like, okay, they worked for 2 weeks and they got more than $1,200, but that other money was just to see about holes that they had to fill. They barely crossed $600 in disposable income at the end of each week. 600 might be plenty for many people. So 1,200 may legitimately be a month of profitable work for a lower class person. So when you as an officer of the law go out there and tell someone $1,200 owed to the state, and bear in mind, when you tell them that is under the threat of prison, it's not you telling them, see if you could pay it. You're telling them, if you don't pay this, we are going to imprison you. So you're basically, think of it like this. Right there, you are taking the father or the mother in that vehicle and locking them in a month of bond slavery to the state. That's what they did of old. Of old, your job would have been to take him, carry him out to the fields and whip him, let him work for a month to pay back his debt to the king, and after the month, he's free to go home. That's what you're doing. That's your job. You are that person. You are taking the peasants, carrying them into the king's farm, into the king's vineyard, whipping them to work for him for a month, and then saying, okay, you're fine to go now. And saying, well, we're doing this. The reason we are making you work for the king is to keep the nation's roads safe. And you go home, hug your wife, kiss your child, and believe that bitter nonsense. Yep. When you carry a child to fun station and to Chuck E. Cheese and they're having fun, think of yourself as a slaver. Your child is having fun based on your ability to enslave the population to the ruling class. Congratulations. And like this is the thing for me, and I just don't understand how people take this job and run away with it like that. The licensing head that's speaking about he's unmoved and they want to double down on this. You're talking about people's money and livelihood here. Like, you're so caught up in your government issued Prado that you don't understand what it's like to be a normal person traversing the nation's roads. Really, that's where you are? And understand that when countries fold because of things like this, because they inevitably do, the level of injustice doesn't always remain like this. It reaches to a toppling point. Look at Haiti. Haiti can't catch itself because each time one of these injustices start, the people revolt. And okay, the people suffer too, but so do you. That's why right now in Haiti, the gangs are going through Haiti looking for all the politicians, looking for all the chief state officials, all the commission officials to kill them. Why do you think a nation of citizens starts hunting all of their officials like that? Why do things like that happen? Well, I could tell you why that happens. In a country like Trinidad and Tobago, imagine if the wealth of our country were to evaporate all of a sudden. If the wealth were to evaporate, and then with the wealth having evaporated, then throw in these jokers who are trying to fleece you for Dr. Rowley. People aren't going to take it the same way. The reason people take it here in Trinidad and Tobago is because there's a lot of excess wealth that allows to buffer this kind of tomfoolery that we have to live with all the time. But if there wasn't that extra wealth to go around, and people had to suffer legitimately and much more regularly because of these things, these men would have had to live a different kind of life. Evil triumphs when good men do nothing, is that statement. And when good men are paid to look the other way, what are we going to get? Haiti people know what they're about. Autotech says, I don't know if I'll say that. Garbage man is a more noble profession. Fact. I don't know if I'll say they know what they're about, but they're serious about what they're about. I'll put it that way. Because I mean, in the long run, does it benefit them, what they're doing? You might say no. So is it that they know what they're about, or just they are very serious with what they're about? Wide Leather says the bad guys won. We live in the Trinidad they created. The white shirts are our red coats. Curvon says we as a people only talk. The action isn't there. What action are you looking for, Autotech? What action are you looking for? Because there are people that are trying to do things. There are people in the courts that are launching cases against these things. A case went through where they won against the licensing division for one of the ridiculous policies they were trying to do. And in the middle of the case, they're like, whoops, oh shucks, that was a mistake. Although they were actually trying to get through with the policy, but when it was taken to court, it was thrown out. So these matters do reach the court. There are many people taking action. Recently there was the case in court where the judge tore the commissioner into pieces, and then the prime minister jumped in on the commissioner's side. Oh gosh, how dare you insult my commissioner? I put her there to be a failure. I am proud of her failing ways. How dare you insult the failure of a commissioner that we love? The prime minister was very upset about the judge having said anything to his dearest appointed commissioner. But then other judges came out in defense of the judge, as I think would be expected. Judge defends judge after prime minister's criticisms. A senior high court judge has defended a colleague amidst criticisms from the prime minister on statements made in a ruling over delays by police commissioner Earl Harewood Christopher in deciding on firearm users license applications. So the backstory of this is a Tobagonian businessman, along with many other people. Anonymous asked, is the current law on vehicle tint still enforced, or was it taken back to Parliament? I am not 100% certain on this. I heard some talk in the undercurrent about it is not being enforced right now. And I kind of have a sneaking suspicion and lean towards believing it, because I look around and it seems like there are lots of extremely darkly tinted vehicles all around the country at any given day. So it seems, and it's a while I haven't seen a scrape down of a tint. So it seems like there may be a little technicality going on with that right now. I don't know though. I don't know for sure. Kevon says it was interesting that he said the cabinet is responsible for policy. Was he saying it's policy to not lawfully issue FULs? Exactly, Kevon. Exactly the point the judge was making also. The backstory of this case, a Tobago businessman applied for an FUL. A Tobago businessman applied for a firearm user's license. He applied a long time ago. The commissioner still hasn't even responded to his application. Now, the commissioner has all rights to say no. The problem isn't that people are suing the commissioner over telling them no. They are suing the commissioner over telling them nothing. The commissioner is not deciding on these applications, and that is where the lawsuit came from. And in the defense of the lawsuit, one of the lawyers in the defense stated basically that the commissioner has so many other duties to do. This is what a small facet, it's nearly like she's too important to consider this duty. The point the judge made in reprimanding the police service and the commissioner over this is part of your statutory duty. This is part of your legal duty assigned to you, assigned to your office by the law. You are the person in charge of this. All of your duties are equally responsible. There is no ranking on which should be taken more seriously. And if you are unable to do your job, say you are incompetent and don't apply for the job, was the basic tenor of the judge's statement. And that makes sense. That is sense within the policy, the legal framework of the policy of the government. As in, the legal framework is the commissioner is supposed to say that whether you get your license or not, and the commissioner is not saying, the judge isn't saying that she has to say yes, he's saying you have to say something. I am Darian says Tint law is being enforced, but from what I've heard it would be put back into law. Isn't being enforced, but what I heard it would be put back into law by next year. 6 months will be given for people to correct their tints though. Days after the Prime Minister's statement, because the Prime Minister came out and said that how dare Mr. Sipasad reprimand the commissioner. How dare he? Days after the Prime Minister's statement, Sipasad was again defended by a colleague. The courts are inundated with applications for judicial review based on the commissioner's failure to make decisions relative to FULs. The decision vests with the commissioner under Section 17 of the Firearms Act. The executive plays no role in the process. The judge pointed out that the state, through the attorney, through the office of the general, was not involved in the case before Sipasad. It is therefore odd and inappropriate for the Prime Minister to attack the judge, and he is not in a position to say that the judge went a bit overboard. Exactly. The Prime Minister out of place. The Prime Minister is not the head of the judiciary. That's not your place. The Prime Minister is not in charge of granting FULs. That's not your place. The Prime Minister wasn't listed in the lawsuit. That's not your place. The judge was speaking within the confines legally of the lawsuit and of the legal stipulations of the commissioner's job. Where did the Prime Minister jump in this? The judge wasn't even mentioning or commenting on how often FULs should or shouldn't be granted. That wasn't even the direction of the judge's criticisms. The judge was saying, basically, you can't leave people just unread. You can't blue tick people when it's your job to give them an answer. And the Prime Minister jumped in to basically say it's the government's policy. So is it that the government's policy is to break the law and transgress the Constitution? Is the Prime Minister attempting to say from the campaign trail that the government's policy is unconstitutional and he doesn't care even if a judge rules against it? It's still the policy the government wants to push through? Because a judge just said that this commissioner is acting outside the bounds of the Constitution as relating to her job. And then the Prime Minister's counter to that is that the commissioner's policy is selected by the government. So are you admitting then that the government is willfully engaging in unconstitutional policies? Is this your boast, Mr. Prime Minister? That doesn't sound like a wise boast to me. Kevon said, if I had a boss that rooted too hard for his special choice to succeed, irrespective of the facts, that's what I mean by the PNM need to rein in KR. But it's going to be difficult for the PNM to rein in KR. I think personally, this is my opinion, political opinion. I think if the UNC reins in KPB, KR's marching orders wouldn't be too far behind. But as long as KPB remains the leader opposing in the landscape, there's no good political reason for the PNM to rein in or hem in or hedge in Dr. Rowley. If as a political group, as a corporation, their aim is to remain in the corridors of power, it seems like a given, if the same two face each other again, that they will remain just there. He really doesn't care because he will say he's being misquoted. Maybe he might. And I think he doesn't need to care. This is, again, my opinion. I feel like I get the airs sometime coming off of the Prime Minister because, remember, he won twice consecutively and he's looking to go onto a third win here. And, of course, his tail is up, his arrogance is up. He's basically saying, well, some people were talking about the property tax and whether the government is afraid to stand behind it. I'm not sure. They were about property tax and won elections with it. So why would he do different? He could have the feeling like, I could whine in your faces and still come back here because that's the way it goes currently. And the person on the other side is doing the same thing. You see, that's the problem with establishment politics. That's why, as we regularly go over to the United States, that's why the non-establishment powers you regularly end up, or at least in these modern times, end up getting the kind of support they do, because people start to feel, okay, this feels like the flip side of the same coin. One side could whine in my face because the other side is whining in my face. So basically they're both whining in my face and I can't do anything about it because I could only choose between the two face whiners. Kevon says, sadly, I agree, which is why I thought Bishnu Raghunath and Dr. Indira assessment was wrong. White Leather says he has shown he has a plaster for every son. 9 years of paring us with every excuse under the sun. Kevon says the time for change is there. UNC is now in the UNC is now not closer to the election. I agree. Well, yeah, and that's why characters like the Trinidad version, I have said this before, probably the most prominent populist voice in Trinidad and Tobago, who might be seen to some extent as anti-establishment, might be one Watson Duke. Listen, barring all the bacchanal that he had following him, Watson Duke, with the right backing, would have made, in my opinion, a legitimate fight for the leadership of this country, you know. Part of the problem is our electoral system with the first past the post parliamentary system. But especially if we had direct voting for prime minister or president, Watson Duke would have made a legitimate run at that post. There are people who would watch him know he's a joker and say, listen, I'd rather put this joker in than put these people that are continually whining in my face. White Leather says, surely you jest. Look at the United States. Donald Trump was seen as a joker character. No way is this guy going to win the primary in the Republican Party. He is not a politician. He's facing guys like Jeb Bush. Bush comes from the legacy of Bushes. They're in the annals of the history annals of power for decades. How is he going to come up against that? And the establishment hates this guy. Nah, there's no way he's going to win. Whoops. He wins the Republican primary. Okay, but I mean, he's facing Hillary Clinton. That's Bill Clinton's wife. She was the former Secretary of State. There's no way he wins this. It's a given. Look at this ridiculous orange weird guy. Who is going to vote for this man? Nobody is voting for that man. He can't run the country. He doesn't know and understand power the way real politicians understand power. And whoops, he won again. And it seems to be shaping up like he may win again this year too. And it's the similar reason like this. If Dr. Rowley whines in your face, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisasa whines in your face, and imagine Trump being like a Jack Warner character. If he wasn't in UNC, a Jack Warner character pops up and says, I go in and do this thing. These people lying to all of you all, I go in and do this differently. Of course they would attract people. Of course. People they recognize, you know. They recognize. My prediction for the next election, if it remains as it seems like it's going to remain, Dr. Rowley versus Mrs. Prasad Bisasa, is the lowest voter turnout. That's my prediction. We're going to have the lowest voter turnout. Because people understand that we are trapped between choices that we don't want either of, really and truly. So, you know, it's best I don't vote. Either way, it's one of these jokers anyway. Kirvon says Duke is a guy who says anything and gets disaffected people to vote for him. And disaffected people are a large contingent within the electorate. Bear in mind, a lot of people don't vote. There are lots of people at voting age that just don't vote. If you could get every person that doesn't vote to vote, you very likely would win. That's just the reality of that. Boy, sad days in politics of this country, Dalip Jairam says. Indeed, indeed it is. Indeed it is. Can't fight that. It is indeed sad days. Hey, I see the chief secretary say he put it on his foot. They go in and start to leave people and desert them if they continue this foolishness. At some point in time, you have to do that. So Tobagonians just jump on planes and know that somebody going to foot the bill. What kind of madness we doing out here? And taking 100 children with you? That's wild. That's real wild, yo. Like, I feel if I was like a supreme leader kind of figure, if I could have done basically what I wanted, I was go in, get a list of all the children, and I bring home the children. And I leave the adults. The country will sponsor flights for all minors, adults, move, mash. Because I mean, I wouldn't blame the children. If you're a minor, someone carried you there. You couldn't have gone there all on your own. So okay, fine. You're a minor, you belong to the country. We will stand that cost as a taxpayer. I don't mind. Okay, fine. Even though someone did it on purpose, bring home with children now. Bring home with children. But the big people, so you all jumped on a flight to the United Kingdom without knowing where you're going to stay and how you're going to come back. Okay. Cheerio. Cheerio. Have a time. That is cost times 100. Eh? I'm not sure how many children, like I saw some places said over 100 children, then I saw some places contesting that. I don't know. But I mean, the children, it is what it is. It is what it is. The children, bring them home. I that's my view. Bring home the children. But those parents and those adults, nah. Not a cent. Not a cent. Figure it out on your own. And you all were clever enough to get there. I believe you all would be clever enough to get back. Because that, I find, is ridiculous. Genuinely ridiculous. The other little tidbit I saw that was interesting to me today was a man, we going on a trip, Ale, come let we go. Bro, how this go Paul Luck is not see Paul Luck, you know? I feel like I'm the kind, I try and do something like that, and they're going to abandon me and make a point and say social media, up and coming social media influencer attempts to answer, I'll make a front page, stupid. Nah, people, leave mindful out of that. If we go in somewhere, we want money ahead and get stick in the coal. Exactly true, Ninja. And I'm a guy, I am made for the tropics. When God was designing this beautiful body, he said, listen, this body is designed for the tropical climate. So I can take the cold in spurts. It's like Ernie and the Moon. Any of your older folk here remember that song with Ernie and the Moon? You know, I might like to go and visit for one afternoon, but I won't like to live on the moon. I'm a tropical being. I'm not going. And then the thing is, if you're stranded, your chances are you won't be ready. You mightn't have the right clothing, the right amount of clothing. Nah. Stranded in a cold country, just Sounds like you lock me in a freezer kind of frustration business, and that doesn't sound like a good time to me. It really doesn't. I saw the last little article before I dive out. I saw a man got arrested in South for issuing death threats online. Just in case you all were wondering how the laws roll, I found that very interesting to be coming from Trinidad. Very, very interesting. I mean, where's that article? Suspect arrested after making online death threats. A San Fernando man was arrested on Monday for allegedly making death threats via social media. The arrest took place as police officers conducted an intelligence-led exercise in the Southern Division between 4 a.m. and 9 a.m. yesterday. According to police officers, several death threats reportedly were made via social media against persons in the Arima Police District. During the investigation, officers from Arima Criminal Investigations Department along with personnel from the Northern Division Task Force Area North and the San Fernando CID, received information that led them to a residence located at Nandaram Singh Avenue, Philippine, San Fernando. Upon arrival at the location, the officers questioned the man at the address concerning the alleged death threats. The man was subsequently detained and then taken to the Arima police station for further inquiries. So, are you careful what you're saying on the people internet, eh? Jail making over death threats. Kevon says Reggie Amo made a statement about TNT adopting the CCJ at De Labastide's funeral. I believe to adopt the CCJ needs that special majority, not so? And I don't think the United National Congress is ever going to give the PNM that majority to get the CCJ. I just don't think they will, ever. If in order to get the CCJ as our top court, we need the UNC's go ahead, I don't think they ever will. And to be fair, I think the Privy Council to CCJ kind of issue may actually be a legitimate opposition issue that hasn't yet been discussed to the point of agreement. That's my view on that. That's my view on that. So I just don't see us adopting it. At least not yet. And it would be interesting if we do. That's what I would say. It would be very interesting if we do. Very, very interesting. All right, people. That's all I have for now. I hope you educated, informed, or entertained. Any further questions or comments on the inside? Wide Leather says, for the CCJ to become another PNM party group, let them stay right there. Exactly, Wide Leather, why the UNC is not going to support it. Exactly why. And as I've said before, I'm not, I'm not worried to trample on these topics. As I've said before, there are obvious reasons too. The CCJ is a Caribbean entity. Now we went through before how the CCJ selects its members and its justices, and it goes through a lot. It goes through a lot to try and make sure they're neutral. But if you're selecting people from the wider Caribbean, and you know Trinidad and Tobago's politics are divided, but to some extent based on race, especially to the current opposition. As I've said before, I've said this a number of times, I believe the PNM party is a party more divided along class lines. So I do not agree with the UNC that the PNM may be the opposing race party, and I don't necessarily believe the UNC is an opposing class party to the PNM. I believe the UNC is more divided along race lines, while the PNM is more divided along class lines. Now, be that as it may, that says something about the CCJ. If the politics does have a racial bend in the country, and you start to select the most senior judges to decide what happens in the country from the wider Caribbean, and the wider Caribbean has a demographic swing that is away from the favor of the UNC. And let's not pretend like we don't all look at things like this. People look at these things. They do look at these things. There was once a UNC, he was a minister at one point in time, who was very happy about the idea of Tobago leaving Trinidad, and he said they should go and join Grenada, and his reasons were demographics. If Tobago leaves Trinidad, it puts a serious sway on the ethnic makeup in terms of percentage of the country. So people do look at things like that, and the fact that the CCJ would be a Caribbean entity while the Privy Council is a United Kingdom entity, I think would have a lot of friction to try and overcome. There was a very interesting judgment in favor of JP, who was diagnosed with dementia. Ooh. And where the Privy Council anyway, as I said, people, that's all I have for now. I hope you're entertained, informed, or educated. as usual. And I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live. That's going to be tomorrow evening around that 9:30 p.m. time. You know, tonight we started on time. We're looking to get more timely there and, you know, pull him back to the 9 o'clock. And maybe, who knows, back to 8 o'clock at some point in time. Get some people who aren't all night owls to take in the lives too. All right, people, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, stay well. Peace out.